Okay, so I wanted to show you one of the things that was hardest for me to learn, and that is how to correct mistakes. As you can see here, I've purposefully dropped a stitch right here. You can see it because there is a bar, a blank bar right there, and a blank bar right there actually. And then this loop hanging out right here on the work, and I have only 19 stitches across instead of 20. When you're working on a large project, this is a little bit more challenging to see, but on this nice small swatch of cotton fabric, it's pretty easy. So what I'm going to do is work over with my knit stitches to, and what I might clarify, what I found that it's easier to fix mistakes on the knit side of the fabric than for me than it is for me to fix it on the purl side. It's a little bit more challenging to see if you look at it from the purl side. You've got the knit stitch you can see behind here. The loop is behind, and you've got these two bars right here, this one here and this one here. But it's easier for me to correct if I notice it on the purl side. I will flip the yarn or the work over to the knit side and fix it in this direction. So I'll, even if I notice it when I'm going across in the purlwise, I won't fix it there. I'll wait and flip, and then I'll fix it when I get back to the knit side, because it's just for some reason easier for me to see and correct when I am on the knit side of the fabric. So I will knit across, inserting my needle from the front of the work to the back, underneath of that stitch, and knit across until I get to that where the dropped stitch is, and then we'll fix it. So what I have found works best, because often when I get here I'm like, oh crow, I gotta fix that. So I will push the yarn of my needles, or the fabric, up high on my needles so that I have less chance of dropping these stitches, because these fall off very easily, and then you could spend time trying to fix 2 and 3 stitches at a time, which is a challenge. For making the correction, I will use a crochet hook. This is a clover needle. This is 3.5. It doesn't really matter the size of the needle as long as it fits within this the stitch here. So as long as you can get it through, if I wouldn't go using like a huge crochet hook like this one here. I wouldn't use this. My size J is 6.0, because it's not going to fit very well into this stitch, since this is an 8 or 3.5 millimeter 5.0 millimeter needle, but the stitches on the knits are smaller in general than crochet hooks. But I will use a smaller crochet hook so I can fit easily into this stitch, and grab. What you want to do is go in through the front, so you kind of pull that stitch to the front, because when you lay it, you can see that that's the proper way for the stitch to lay, up in this direction. So you want to put it in through the front, grab this bar, this first bar here with your hook, and pull it through, and then if you lay it up, the stitch looks correct. So if you were to pull that stitch in the wrong direction, take that yarn back out, and say that yarn got pulled over the front, this is how you would purl. You put it in from the back side of that loop and pull that yarn through from the front to the back. You've created a purl stitch. Do you see that there? That's a purl stitch. We don't want purl stitches on this side. We want knit stitches. So I'm going to pull that back out, push the yarn back into the back side of the work, put the yarn or the hook into the front side of that stitch, so that I've got the stitch over the top of the hook, grab the yarn behind and pull it through to the front of the stitch and lay it up so I can see it's a proper knit stitch. Then I take my needle out, put it into the front again, grab that second bar and pull it through, making an appropriate nip stitch. And I have corrected the stitch. Now I just got to get it back on the needle. So I'll push this the left needle down so I can put it back onto the needle because it's unworked yet as far as putting it onto the right needle. And when you put it back on the needle, you don't want to put it onto the needle so that the left bar of the stitch is in the front because it's going to twist the stitch. You want to put it onto the needle so that the right side bar of the stitch is in the front of the needle so that it goes in the right direction. See if this one here, the right side of the bar is in the front of the stitch. So you want that right side bar in the front. And then you can continue knitting. You'll put the bar or put the right needle into the front of the stitch with your working yarn in the back, wrap from right to left, and knit that stitch, and you've made your correction. And you can continue on knitting across the row. But that is how you correct a drop stitch.